Welcome back, and let's remind ourselves then the Monster Cable jersey update. Peter Sagan currently holding 3 of the leaders' jerseys, while Sebastian Salas holds the Nissan King of the Mountains jersey award there. And so all of these jerseys could change direction today in this individual time trial. And by the way, the XG Most Aggressive Rider yesterday, that was awarded to Yannick Eisen on the left of our picture there, and the Amgen Breakaway from Cancer Award went to Marco Irizar, who, by the way, is a cancer survivor of testicular cancer. So he won that yesterday. Back to the action here. No change at the finishing line at the moment. We still have Christophe Riblon of France with finish time there, 38.22, and Travis Meyer. Jens Voigt has just made his start here, and Jens indicating today that it is, as he pointed out, Paul, he's twice the age of some of the youngsters in this race. He's 40 years plus, 41 soon.
Well, he's also a very enthusiastic professional bike rider as well, and he's good at the individual time trial. We've got a new best time just gone through at half distance. The gaps now, Phil, really are starting to tumble, because the Rabobank rider Martin Jalingi has just gone through with a time of 16 minutes and 10 seconds. So he really is starting to knock that off, and that's an 18-second beating of Bert Grabsch, who has formerly been the world time trial champion, and Zawanski now starting to drop down into 3rd place. So the gaps are starting to get rather interesting.
All right, well, as we watch here, the shadow on the road of Jens Voigt, here's today's Nissan Innovation for All.
Hi, I'm Jordan from Trek Bicycles, and I'm here to talk about the Trek Speed Concept, our purpose-built time trial bike. So this bike is designed for aerodynamics front to back. So it starts with having an integrated brake in the fork, integrated bar and stem, integrated rear brake, and then all the tube profiles are designed for the best aerodynamics possible. The rider position is significantly different on a time trial bike compared to their normal road bike. So with this particular bike, we have the Shimano Dura-Ace electronic shifting system, which allows the riders to shift not only at the extension ends, but also out near the brake levers as well. So again, the integration on this bike was very important to the overall aerodynamics. One of the key features is the integrated front brake, which shields the front brake from the wind, and since it's one of the leading parts of the bike, that's been very important to reducing the overall drag of the bike. The combination of computer simulation and wind tunnel development in the last 5 to 10 years has made a significant decrease in the overall drag of these bicycles, which allows the rider in the end to go much faster in time trials than they used to be able to.
And that's today's Nissan Innovation for All. Now we've got a new best time at the turn. Martin Jalingi of Rabobank, 16 minutes and 10 seconds. Looking out across the oil producing fields here in Bakersfield, it also mixes its oil producing with agriculture as well. But boy, Paul, it looks as though we're in the middle of the desert. It's only May and the temperature's hitting 90+ degrees. It's hot as a rider time trial.
It is very, very hot, I have to tell you. And by the way, if you're interested in buying one of those Trek time trial bikes, it probably costs between $15,000 and $18,000.
So Jens Voigt on his way, concentrating on the road ahead. Now, let me tell you that Bakersfield has been designated the Tree City USA for 15 years in a row. It ranks 3rd among all countries in the United States in agriculture-related production as well. The southern gateway to the Central Valley, Bakersfield is the 9th largest city in California, and indeed one of the fastest growing regions in the nation. A short drive from the city puts visitors in the southern Sierra Nevada mountains, where one can experience top-rated whitewater rafting, fly fishing and hiking. And for more information, go to visitcalifornia.com. Really is beautiful around this part of the world. It looks a little bit barren at the moment for the time trial. There is a troublesome wind blowing, as the riders will find out on course. But now, what is this man going to do? People think Levi Leipheimer is playing possum, although he is coming back from a broken leg. Can he return to the top as the time trial king of this race? Tomorrow, the Epic Cycle Series continues with Stage 6 of the Amgen Tour of California. It's an absolute brute as we head up to Big Bear Lake. It'll be a tough day after the time trial. And note the time at 5 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. Looking across the oil-producing area here in Bakersfield, just moments ago, the former world time trial champion, Bert Grabsch, had an inspired finish, and he's just recently finished Scott Zwiazanski off the top by a few seconds, so he holds the best time now. Current time trial champion of Germany as well, 38.10 for Bert Grabsch at the finishing line now. Out on course again, picking up Ben King, pedaling his heart out here, but remember that When we get to the last 48 riders of the day, they are blanketed by only 40 seconds after 4 days of racing. There's the current situation. Grabsch just finished 11 seconds quicker than the recently finished Swiaczynski. Christoph Riblon, the early leader, slipped down to third now, and Gerald Cholik has come in there into fourth place, while Travis Meyer, the Australian, he's gone down into fifth. Those are the early runners now. When you ride a time trial, you've got to measure your effort. It's the riders who go out late who would be looking to close that gap on the leadership of Peter Sagan, that is for sure. This is Joe Dabrowski here, who rides on the Bontrager Livte strong team. He's only just started a couple of minutes ago. This team is full of fight. They're youngsters, average age is 20, and they are here to impress, and they've certainly done that this week. So as Joe gets underway, he's on the empty road ahead of him here. The boys in black. It must be quite warm in those black jerseys today, with temperatures hitting 90 degrees. So let's have a look then at our Cliff Bar moment at the Amgen Tour of California, brought to you by the technology of GoPro cameras inside the peloton. Let's have a look at yesterday's stage from our little mobile camera. A little camera for a little horse there, as this was all the preparation for the arrival yesterday. Everybody enjoying themselves in the town of Clovis, and then our camera getting out amongst the peloton as it was all action over a series of hills before you started the run down to the finish in the old town area of Clovis. It was a scorcher yesterday, it really was. Riders preoccupied with water. That's our Cliff Bar moment, brought to you by GoPro cameras. GoPro U in HD for your Amgen Tour of California. Go to meetthemoment.com. And there is the motorcyclist view there of the time trialist. Nobody is allowed to go alongside or pass these riders. There are very strict rules here because of the wind, and it is purely a lone effort here. And so they are out on their own until they've completed the course distance of 18 miles. As the faces continue to smile at the start here, Paul, this is the Bissell rider down here, Chris Baldwin, making his start. Bissell have lost 3 of their 8 riders after a couple of days of racing, but they've been very, very much in the stage here. Sitting 2 minutes 40 seconds off the race lead, so Chris is having a pretty good Amgen Tour of California. Back out to see Joe Dombrowski.
Well, it's back out and back into the finish line. We're moving right and left all of the time here to see if we can keep up with all of these bike riders. Another good ride coming in here, and this is rider number 134 crossing the line, Michael Creed. That's not a bad ride by him.
39.16 has put him in 6th place at the moment on the overall standings. No change since the former world champion came in about 10 minutes ago. Bert Grabsch. I think pride probably drove him to that, because these early starters and midway starters are many minutes behind overall, but somebody like Bert Grabsch, this is his speciality. He could well be the winner of the day, if not moving up too far overall.
Well, that's what he's looking for, but I think he realizes they've got another game in hand as well once we turn this race up to the hills, because they've got to look after Peter Velits and, of course, Levi Leipheimer. If Leipheimer has the form that a lot of people are starting to now say that he's been hiding.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. We'll wait and see with Levi Leipheimer. We actually spoke to Christian Armstrong after she did her inspired performance, and we said, hey, Christian, who's going to win the men's event? And she said, I reckon Levi Leipheimer. Well, that's a bit of a shock, I think. Everybody else is talking about Dave Zabriskie. There's the overall current standings, and now you can ride with California pride. Well, just this is actually Martin Gillingi. Now, if he's held his time, he could be the new leader here. No, he's well inside, well inside. Just look at the clock against 38.10. An inspired ride this by Martin Gillingi. To my knowledge, he's never won a time trial in his life, but you know, his team manager said, watch him today, he could be a top 10 finish. Well, for the moment, he is sitting on the leaderboard as number 1. He was the best time of 16.10 at the turn, and he's come home with a terrific performance. So well done, Martin Gillingi. The Rabobank boys want a result, and today it may well be the case. He's in with 36.51, and that is the best time. And not only the best time, it's annihilated the time of Bert Grabsch. And now you can ride with Californian pride. Check out new California flag-inspired apparel and jerseys online at Amgen Tour of California store.com. Back with the action here, and back to see the start now of Vincenzo Nibali. He's been on the lips of many people as a pre-race favourite, and we haven't mentioned his name yet, but he hasn't lost much time either. So today, he's going out now, and he's one of those riders blanketed only 40 seconds off the lead, in his case, of his teammate Peter Sagan. So good time trial, and Nibali could be looking forward to the next 2 days of racing in the mountains. Here's the rival of former US road race champion Ben King. A very good ride for Benny. Crossed the line there in 6th place with the 6th best time so far. No change overall as we watch here the Italian Nibali podium finish in the Giro d'Italia last year, making his way out. It is still Martin Gialinghi who has given us the best time of 36 minutes and 51 seconds. Also, he holds the best turn time of 16 minutes and 10 seconds. And that, I think, is a very good time, which might withstand the passage of time, actually, because he finished 5th in the time trial a year ago here in the Amgen Tour of California. It was at Solvang then, the beautiful town, Danish enclave of Solvang. Zerbel now, another good time trialist, but we've seen him off his bike during this time trial. He had to change the front wheel, which is rather sad. It may have cost him. Well, as Tom Zerbel comes in, Paul, we saw him off his bike changing a tyre. It is still an incredibly good time. And you know, that wheel change has cost him the lead, because he's come in with a 38. Well, he may not have done. He probably didn't lose 2 minutes, did he?
Well, he didn't lose 2 minutes with that bike change, but it's funny how history repeats itself, because in the individual time trial last year around Solvang, he also had a mechanical problem. So I think he's a bit too strong for the machines they put him onto these days, Phil.
Yeah, and these are specialised bikes just for the time trial, of course. You don't ride them too often. Brief picture there of Jens Voigt out on his way, as we're now looking at Nibali. So let's take a look at our Tour Insider powered by SRAM now.
Welcome to the Tour Insider powered by SRAM. I'm Dave Toll here with Michael Zellman in Bakersfield, California. We're at the start of Stage 5. It's the time trial day.
Dave, we had a good chance to talk to Levi Leipheimer this morning about his very particular wheel choices, zip wheel choices, for today's 18.4 mile challenging, slightly uphill time trial here in Bakersfield, California.
At our level in the sport, you know, if you show up at the Tour de France or Tour of California, the Olympics, you need to have the absolute fastest wheel for that course, the wind conditions, and all of those are factors into, you know, how fast you go and how much time you put into your competitors. And when you have lost a couple of long time trials by less than a second, you'll never forget that.
Thanks for watching the Tour Insider.
Powered by SRAM.
Yes, indeed you won't. And Levi Leipheimer still to start the course, not too far away from Levi's time at the moment. As we look here at Vincenzo Nibali out on course at the moment. Still no change at the turn or at the finishing house. Martin Gialinghi is setting the trend here. But you know, Nibali here has had a great start to the season. He was 3rd in the Italian Classic Milan-San Remo, and then he was 2nd in the Classic in Belgium in the Ardennes, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. They're one-day races. Now we're getting into stage races, and Vincenzo wants to ride a good Tour de France. So we'll see, because he's getting himself back into shape. He's had what he calls his rest period, and sometimes you're never too sure how the body reacts on a long-distance road race after you've taken time out. Well, we're looking out on what is a very exposed countryside here in Bakersfield. Extremely hot. Nibali is coping well. This is a very fast course in places, but in other places there is a heavy road surface. The riders are saying it's really difficult and to the wind. 5 kilometers to go, or 3 miles to the finish, and the national time trial champion Dave Zabriskie will not be long before he gets underway. So a year ago, this time trial, by the way, was held in the Danish enclave of Solvang here in California. The winner then was David Zabriskie, who's about to start shortly, and he put 14 seconds into Levi Leipheimer, 40 into TJ Van Garderen, and 51 into Chris Horner and Tom Danielson. Peter Sagan, by the way, finished 14th in that time trial. But all those names are in the race today, Paul, and they've all still to go.
They're all still to go, but I think this is a much more better suited time trial profile today for Dave Zabriskie. And here he is, as if on cue, the American time trial champion. Doesn't say very much. He does his talking with his legs.
His wife and 2 children are just behind this start podium. He's waved to the kids. He's been with the kids. Now he's ready to strut his stuff. He is the national champion of the USA. He is a very, very good time trial. And in this race, Paul, he's finished 2nd overall 3 times, and he's been talking of just a hatful of seconds to lose. Not surprisingly, big cheers as he launches into the race here. He's a very popular man. He lets his legs do the talking. He's not a very loquacious person.
I'll tell you what, though, Phil, he's got a very, very dry sense of humour, and he can be quite funny. Pulls a prank every now and again, as he did with us just the other night in the team presentation when he came onto the dais to be presented with a different team. We thought he was trying to announce where he was going to be riding next year.
Indeed. Now, he's got a different racing skin suit on here, Paul. It's a one-piece suit, but I've not seen this design before. They must have redesigned the national champion suit.
Well, I think this is the Captain America suit that he likes to wear in the individual time trial. Just to put it into a little bit of perspective, not only is he the current American time trial champion, he's had that title on 6 separate occasions. He really is an incredible specialist. He was once dubbed by Johan Brunel, who was Lance Armstrong's team manager for many, many years, as the most aerodynamic bike rider in the peloton, and that's reflected in his time trial results.
Now, last time when he rode against Peter Sagan in the Solvang time trial here, he beat Peter Sagan by 75 seconds. He's looking for only 40 seconds this time around, and he could be in that yellow jersey of Sagan, all things being equal. Here comes Dries Devenants here for the Omega Pharma Quick Step team. Respectable, but no reason to rush for Dries Devenants at 39.15 as he comes in. That's a fair way off, 2 3/4 minutes off the lead there.
Just a little indicator, Phil, and mid-time best time there, coming in by Jens Voigt at 16:09. Now, this is Levi Leipheimer. Is it the day of truth for him? I've got to ask myself, Phil. He's won this stage. He's won this Amgen Tour of California 3 times. He was preparing specifically for it. 5 weeks ago, he was out training, and somebody knocked him off his bike, and he smashed his fibula.
Yes, a complete break it was. How on earth he got himself back into any shape at all to even start this event? There was great doubt when he started, because it was a clean break on his leg, and I'm amazed he's been able to get himself into any shape at all. And he does seem to be, people are saying he has been waiting. He's actually racing very well. Nobody knows the answer. Now today we've got to find out in our infamously named The Race of Truth.
Well, that X-ray, Phil, was very, very clear. I don't think you had to be a brain surgeon or a doctor to see that was a clear, nasty break. And to come back, to get through the first 4 days, I have to say, of the Amgen Tour of California has got to be a victory for number 21 here, Levi Leipheimer. You might not have noticed, but in the starting area, Phil, he was actually wearing an ice jacket to keep his core inner body as cool as possible before the start.
Well, it looks as though he's got an ice pack on his back here, which Christian Armstrong said she advised all the pros after she finished her time trial that they should wear ice packs on the departure because it got really hot out on course. We are in the California desert here, believe me, as this lone figure now of Levi Leipheimer. He doesn't look like a man who broke his leg, what is in effect nearly 6 weeks ago now, as he speeds away. This is his race. He is a man of California, and the race started in his adopted home city. So sign up now for the Radio Shack Tour Tracker. This is becoming extremely popular. Follow the race from start to finish, including text updates, rider location, speed, distance, breaks, and 2 hours of live video each day. The Radio Shack Tour Tracker. So it's up and down this highway, by the way. The cyclists get to ride both way here. Now still to go. Tom Danielson also warming up. He can't hear me, he's got his headphones on, but I'll tell you what, he's planning an assault today because he believes he can win this race by the time we get to LA.
California is a great destination for cyclists because we have it all. I mean, we have the ocean, the redwoods, the mountains. You can ride your bicycle, you can go climbing, whitewater rafting. Anything you want to do in California, we've got it. The Amgen Tour of California is really a moving postcard. From way up north by Mount Shasta, you've got the Sierra Mountains, Gold Country, the Central Valley, down to Southern California.
Brought to you by Visit California. California. Find yourself here.
Lead of the USA Cycling American standing. I think we'll see a lot of changes by the end of this day, but Jeff Lauder currently 3rd overall, Alex House 4th, Fred Rodriguez 5th, and 6th Ben-Jacques Maines. 13th is George Hincapie, but watch for some new names after the time trial today. I'm sure that will be reshuffled, and it may be done by this man here, because Chris Horner is the defending champion. His Radio Shack team has shepherded him around the course so far. He's lost only 40 seconds. Another man who's lost only 40 seconds too is TJ Van Garden, who was placed in the time trial last time out, and he's got the ice on his neck there as he keeps cool as he warms up. These riders all to start at the moment. The national champion though is underway and heading towards the first turn, and it looks as though Dave Zabriskie here is beginning to bring back the rider who started 1 minute in front of him. Now this is interesting as he now piles on. So this will be Yannick Aysen, the Belgian rider on Team BMC. Aysen wears the 34 as a red number because he was yesterday's most aggressive rider. Could well be that Zabriskie is about to take that number off him at the end of this day as the most aggressive rider. He has just flown by Daniel Aysen, rather Yannick Aysen at the moment, the Belgian on Team BSC. Zabriskie is on a ride, if there's anything to be judged from those pictures.
Well, I tell you what, we are getting a chance here to see some specialist positions in the individual time trial here this afternoon. You can see the face on Levi Leipheimer. We know he's in pain, Phil. He's got to be in pain. But the question is, can he ride above that pain? And does he have the power left in those legs that he had in the early part of the season? Because he started the season on strong with a win in the Tour of San Luis in Argentina.
Yes, he did, and then it all went wrong with that problem in Spain, but he's grimacing his face here, so he's clearly finding it quite hard. He told us on the eve of the race privately, he said, man, my leg really hurts. And I thought he was going to announce the fact that he was not going to ride this event, but the contrary was true. He said he could not be on the start line of the event where he'd been instrumental in getting it to start in Santa Rosa, which is his adopted hometown. And here he is. The riders are saying he's playing possum. They're very cruel, I think, but we'll find out today.
I've got to agree with you, because you don't break your leg 5 or 6 weeks ago and come back to the top end of a sport as hard as this.
No,
you and I have to admit, I think publicly, we were actually debating whether it would last 2 or 3 days, and he's still in there after 4 days. And now, if he puts in a good performance today, well, we could be talking about him trying to win this race for a 4th time.
If he does the right, and he was the king of this time trial over the years, and he's won the event 3 times. He's also finished 2nd once. There's only been 6 editions, so he's been an ever-present here in the Amgen Tour of California. We go back to the national time trial champion, Dave Zabriskie. We've just seen him absolutely fly by as if standing still, Yannick Aysen. So now when he gets towards the turn, we know where he actually is. So as we watch here the flying legs of Dave Zabriskie, let me remind you again that there's daily live coverage on Universal Sports, which comes to you at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, of the Giro d'Italia. And I can tell you today, Joaquim Rodriguez has kept his pink jersey, and a very nice and popular winner in Lars Bak won the stage today. And as the riders say, he talks a lot at the best of times, but now he's going to talk even more at the breakfast table. He's got a stage win in the Giro d'Italia, so enjoy that on Universal, NBC Universal. So let's have a look how it all stands before we go for the break. This is the man who's done the time, Martin Jangeli, 36.51. Bert Grabsch is 2nd, Tom Zerbel is 3rd, and Zwizanski is 4th. That's how it stands. It'll change. It's the Stage 5 time trial at Bakersfield today, presented by Rabobank in the Amgen Tour of California. And the best time at the finish is still Martin Jelingi, 36 minutes and 51 seconds. Dave Zabriskie is heading down now to the turn, and that should give us some guidelines as to how well he really is going. So Jelingi is in there at the moment as we now pan around the oil fields here in the region of Bakersfield. And this, as you go down to the finish, is the arrival of Jens Voigt. Now this might be interesting because Voigt is coming up here, and it was moments ago, 36.22. Voigt has finished with the best time, and that is a 29-second beating of Martin Jelingi. So Voigt has pulled something special there. We had a time check 1 second quicker at the turn. 16.10 played 16.9. So interesting. Now let's go to the start house. We're getting down to the meat of the time trial now. The men who are hunting a yellow jersey on the shoulders of Peter Sagan. This is Tom Danielson from Boulder, but as we always love to call him, Tommy D from Durango, because that's where he started out life. He lives in Boulder in Colorado now. He says his form is good. He's a good climber. If he can live with a good time trial, who knows what will happen tomorrow. And it looks like the field artists in his oil and agricultural capital have been at it again down there as Bakersfield. Looks a bit like Dave Zabriskie, that I must say. Well, waiting for news of Zabriskie at the turn. Still nothing. He's about 18 kilometres from the finish at the moment, but he'll be approaching the turn about now, I would think. Second time he'd been to Bakersfield. Peter Sagan was the winner of the road race here a couple of years ago. This is Tommy D.
Good win.
So Danielson, the pressure on him now, Paul, as we start to move to the... He is still in this big group of riders, 40 seconds off the yellow jersey. A good time today. You could see him on the podium as we head up towards the climbs tomorrow. Next 2 days, extremely mountainous here in California.
Well, this is Zabriskie. He's not shown any sign of weakness at all here. His body position is perfect. He's sitting slightly forward on the saddle so he can scrunch up the front part of his body to make that as aerodynamic as possible. And he's just...
Yep, he's just got the best time, I think. He's just rivaled Jens Voigt's time. We're waiting for what that time is.
15:50 I've just heard crackling over to race day.
15:50 is a very good beating. That would be 19 seconds quicker than Jens Voigt, if that is confirmed. So Dave Zabriskie at 15:50 has gone through 19 seconds faster than Jens Voigt. And I have to concede, I wouldn't have expected Jens Voigt to be in second place. Incredible ride, that.
But Jens Voigt is a star, you know, Phil. He's a fighter, he's a battler. He always comes out to do the best that he can. So far, you know, Dave Zabriskie has been out on the course and he's passed 2 riders that started in front of him, Yannick Eisel and Michael Cherel of AG2R La Mondiale.
Yeah, Cherel 74. He's just also succumbed now as we continue here. This is Andrew Talansky now, and this young man too is a real candidate for final victory. He will ride a good time trial today. But now we want to see if Zabriskie has gone through so much quicker at the turn. All of the riders who are going well are building on that, as indeed Christian Armstrong did in the women's event. She completely annihilated them when riding from the turn back to the finish. If you're really strong, this is where you make your time.
And if you know how to dose the energy and dose the effort that you put in, Zabriskie, it looks as if he's almost praying there as he gets his hands into the middle of the handlebars. Look at the way he puts his head down every now and again. That makes him that little bit more aerodynamic. And then he has to look up to make sure he's riding in a safe line, make sure he's got the line right, just making sure that he keeps his speed in excess of 50 kilometers an hour, 31 miles an hour he's probably averaging currently. A magnificent machine he's had put together for him. You can see all the little additions here and there to make it that little bit more aerodynamic.
Well, we're getting through now towards the last 20 riders to go. In the start house at the moment will be Brent Buckwalter. He'll be making his start. Now and then we get to 2-minute gaps shortly as the top riders, the top 16 riders in this race, will part at 2-minute intervals. That's to try and stop the coming togetherness. Zabriskie has passed the 2 riders who started in front of him. He's absolutely flying. Next man we should see in the start house will be the defending champion, Chris Horner. And out on course, we are now seeing Tommy Danielson. So this is it now, Paul. These are the boys you know with a great ride today. They're on the podium in yellow tonight.
Well, it's all about this individual time trial now, and as we look at this route, I have to say, I do believe, Phil, it is made for Dave Zabriskie, but there are some great time trialists out there as well when you think about guys like Luke Durbridge from Australia. Chris Horner knows.
Just come in, 37.48. I'm not sure who it was who came in.
Still, Voigt is the best time with 36.22. Third best time. Horner's just about to go out of the starting house as we look down here at the bike of Tommy Danielson. So Zabriskie is still very, very aerodynamic. He doesn't look to be showing any weakness at all, and it's over this last half of the race now that you really got to make sure you dig right in. But he's such an experienced bike rider. When you look at his 30 or so professional victories, Phil, nearly all of those have been in the individual time trial.
Well, this is Boucher setting the third best time as he just comes in. But I think we're going to see this leaderboard reshuffled with the arrival of these stronger riders now. We're in that 40-second blanket of about 40 men. And it's very important they produce their best ride. In the start house now, we have TJ Van Garderen here. He's a great time trialist, and this is his big chance to move up. It's 40 seconds like everybody else off that leader's yellow jersey. He needs to concentrate. Look at those eyes staring straight ahead now as he gets the count, and off you go. TJ, who had this bizarre exit from the Tour of Romandy when he was challenging there for a podium place, when he got in high winds, hit by a flying tree branch that took him out the race. So still waiting now. Talansky is gone. Van Garderen has gone. Very shortly, one more rider to go, Thiago Machado, then the 2-minute intervals. Chris Horner has gone. And this rider, I think, well, he's certainly going to set the best time, but will it be the time that no one else can reach? And as the others finish, we'll calculate whether it's a yellow jersey for him tonight. Peter Sagan, don't forget, the yellow jersey. He'll be sitting and warming up and waiting and probably watching these pictures as well to see if he can produce such a time. So Jens Voigt has set the best time. He sits on 36.22, 29 seconds back to Jalingi. But I'll tell you, Dave Zabriskie is about to rewrite that. See you in a moment. On Saturday, the Iditarod IndyCar Series continues on the NBC Sports Network with the time trials in the Indianapolis 500. Coverage will begin with pole day Saturday at 11 a.m. on the NBC Sports Network. As we return to the time trial, I can tell you, as we're waiting now for Joe Dabrowski to come up to the line, Levi Leipheimer has turned, conceding almost 1 minute to Dave Zabriskie at the turn. And so he's having a rough ride today. 39.32, as it 39.34 for Joe Dabrowski, and that's not a bad ride for the youngster here from Bontrager Livestrong. Well, people are saying that Levi Leipheimer, with his broken leg only 5.5 weeks ago, was playing possum. I think now the race at Toulouse has revealed he's got to find his way back into form. His turn time, 16 minutes and 45 seconds, and that compares to Zabriskie's 15 minutes and 50 seconds. So I think we can say now that Levi is on the way back rather than on the way up to the top of the leaderboard. Well, this is the tough part of the course, Paul. The wind is troublesome here. I think we can see now that Zabriskie is fighting to keep up this high cadence of his.
Well, you just look at that machine that they've put together for him, though, Phil, the Cervelo P5. Look at the fairing just behind the front part of the forks. It's brought in together to make that machine that little bit more aerodynamic. A slight fairing at the back there to make it integrated into the full disc wheel as we slip again once back to the start. Now, you're looking here at some of the young guys here who are riding extremely well. And this young man, who's part of the Bontrager Trek team, is Lawson Craddock. He's from Houston, Texas, and he lives in Austin, Texas, which has got a very good musical street known as 6th Street. Lawrence Tendam comes up to the line. That's a good time there. That's the 4th best time. Yeah.
Bram Tanger, he was 4th place for him as he comes up to the line. The Rabobanks are really putting a big effort today to try and pack at the top and maybe take the team in the lead in the team race here. So we've had Jangali come in with a good time, now tanking, dropping in 4th place. But Dave Zabriskie, the current leader on the road, he is getting his next man in his sights right now.
Well, that's going to be the
There he is, Dave Zabriskie, and he's moving up on his next rider who started about 3 minutes in front of him. I think, just trying to pick it up, but it could be Romain Bardet rather, of the La Mondiale team. It may even be somebody further close than that as he continues on his way. So don't forget that on Sunday you can ride the same circuit as these pros. It's the Nissan Ride Before the Pros. It starts outside LA Live on May 20th. Same circuit the pros will ride between 8 and 9:30. All cyclists of all levels are allowed to ride. Free to participants. The Nissan Ride Before the Pros will begin and end at the official finish line at LA Live. And you register online today at www.amgentoroCalifornia/Nissan. And here we go. This is Philip Dignan now, the Irishman, who is now being passed by Dave Zabriskie. He will feel a tornado go by because Phil Dignam is not a bad rider himself, but boy, Zabriskie is riding today like a man possessed. Continuing now back towards the finishing line here now, as Joe Dabrowski, no, this is Nathan Brown now, another one of the youngsters coming through. 37.46 stands against the current man in the finish, Jens Voigt, 36.22. These boys are real stars of the future. They're running against the best pros in the world, and they're not conceding that much to them. George Hincapie diving out of the start house there as we come up towards 10 minutes to 3 here in California. And that leaves us now just 12 riders left to start this. We're getting closer to the start of Peter Sagan in yellow. And he's going to be noting the ride being done by Dave Zabriskie. Dave Zabriskie only needs to better him by 41 seconds to become the next leader on the road. So as we continue out on the road with the youngsters here from Bontrager Livestrong, Peter Sagan is now getting on the bike round the back of the start area, getting a good sweat on. And by the way, it just hit 101 degrees here, and the tornado there is about to launch himself. He'll be going shortly. We'll see you soon. Coming up on the face here of one of the young Bontrager riders, and as we go back to the start, this is Luis Leon Sanchez here now in the start house, the national time trial champion of Spain. As we start to move down towards the last men, he's the 11th last rider to start here, and we can expect a good ride of him, and he knows it as he now licks his lips. He needs just a few seconds, as they all do, to take over the lead of this race. Sanchez launches. He's also looking for 14 seconds as we're coming back out on course here to Andrew Talansky, a rider who pulled off a very special ride on the last day of the Tour Romandy, which moved him up in the time trial. He finished second overall because of a great time trial. But I'll tell you what, Dave Zabriskie's time at the turn is being eaten by everybody at the moment. Nobody has broken 16 minutes, and he's not far off coming home. Well, this is Vincenzo Nibali coming towards the finish now. His time is outside the best time of the day at 36.22 by over a minute at the moment. So Nibali is not going to shine today, Paul. He is still finding his way back, I think.
Well, I tell you what, Phil, it really just goes to show what the rumour has been on the inside of the peloton, that he was suffering through these days in the Amgen Tour of California, dubbed as a possible pre-race favourite for Team Liquigas Cannondale. He's lost a huge chunk of time. Don't count him out, though, Phil, because at the end of the day, we have got two big mountains to come.
Fifth place at the moment for Vincenzo Nibali as we look at Lawson Craddock, while his teammate Nathan Brown has just slotted home in third position. And that is a terrific ride by the Bontrager Livestrong boy. As we look out across what is quite a desert here today, this is our area of view from Visit California, and the thermometers, as I said, have just popped over 100 degrees Fahrenheit now. This is the hottest day of the Amgen Tour of California this week, and if memory serves me right, it's never been hotter over its 7 years of being. It is a scorcher here. As we cut back to Andrew Talansky out on course now. He knows today is the day when he puts his marker out as a possible winner of this race in LA Live. The man who still holds on, 36.22, Jens Voigt. Nathan Brown, the Bontrager Livestrong youngster, has just finished with the third best time, but that is a minute 26 behind Jens Voigt. And I can tell you that when Dave Zabriskie comes home, he's going to rewrite the record books, because he is absolutely flying and nobody is getting to that turn anywhere like close. Robert Gessing, the Dutchman, has got there in 16.05. Which is only 15 seconds slower than Dave Zabriskie. That is a very good time for Gessing. There's the long empty road of the time trialist. As we go back to Dave Zabriskie, he's on the climb up towards the line here now. Soon all will be revealed. The left turn for Dave Zabriskie, the crowd watching him here, the Californian and the USA flag. Zabriskie will hear the public address now. This is going to be unbelievable, Paul. It's going to be an amazing new best time. He's shooting at 36.22. He's just coming up to 35 minutes done. He's going to eat Jens Voigt alive.
And everybody else, I would say, here this afternoon, because he's not even got out of his aerodynamic position, straight back into it. He's going to ride like a maniac all the way up to the finishing line. He's going to beat, I would say, Jens Voigt by a good minute margin here as he still watches that clock ticking by. He's still looking very fast. He could be laying down the foundations for a victory in the Amgen Tour of California with a climb like this, because I tell you one thing, Phil, this guy, when he needs to, he can climb well.
Yes, he can. 3 times second overall historically in the Amgen Tour of California. He won the time trial last year. He didn't win the race. But you know, it's a long way up the climb here, and it really, really hurts. It S's towards the finish. He'll come round a sneaking right-hand bend to go under the banner, and that clock is still ticking here. Voigt has found himself an inspired performance. 16.09, but Zabriskie, a first man, goes inside, but only just 35.59 on the line. Well, that was on the clock, and that's confirmed. So I take my hat off to Voigt. He's only 10 seconds slower.
Jens is a battler. You know what? Jens Voigt will fight his way through any individual time trial around the world if he can. Zabriskie, though, has just gone in. He's laid down the gauntlet for everybody else now. 35.59, 23 seconds faster than Jens Voigt, 52 seconds faster than Martin Jellingi.
Yes, so in fact it's 29 seconds now. They've slightly amended Jens Voigt's time. 23 seconds. Oh, that is correct, as they've now put his time correctly on our computer. So it is now Dave Zabriskie looking now to see exactly what Peter Sagan can turn in today, or will the yellow jersey be coming his way? Now, looking at our computer, it looks to me as though TJ Van Garderen has done a pretty good performance down at the turn. With no confirmation, yes, we have 15 minutes and 48 seconds, 2 seconds quicker than Zabriskie.
Well, that is a big reference for TJ Van Garderen to go through that sport. Andrew Talansky's not done a bad ride either, because he's gone through faster than Jens Voigt in 16.08. And we're now looking at the face here of George Hincapie. This is experience, turned professional back in 1994, and he's looking at a mid-time checkpoint of his own teammate here, and that is TJ Van Garderen. That is an incredible performance, 15 minutes and 48 seconds.
I am wondering if Dave Zabriskie, he went out very, very quickly, and when he got to that sticky patch on the way back, which is the most difficult stretch of the course, I think he was beginning to sell out a little bit on the run into the finish.
Well, it's worth here, Phil, having a quick look at the different surfaces we're looking at. This is a drier surface, a smoother surface, and when you see the black surface, which is a new laid tar, it really is very, very sticky. And there we're about to come to it with George Hincapie.
Now we're hearing out on course that Levi Leipheimer's into the last kilometre for the finish. I don't think it's going to be an earth-shattering time on this occasion. The man has won the race 3 times and also won this time trial on a number of occasions as well. But at the moment, I think it might be a little bit of a tough call for him. George Hincapie here, the man who's ridden the Tour of Flanders 17 times after this year. That's a record, the famous one-day race. And if he gets selection by the team for the Tour de France this July, he'll set the outright record as the first man to start in 17 tours.
Unbelievable. The only one that he's not finished so far, by the way, Phil, was his first participation in the Tour de France, and because of his age at that time, he was actually pulled out. They just wanted to allow him to get the experience. So if he finishes the Tour de, if he gets picked and finishes the Tour de France this year, that will be an incredible record.
It most certainly will, as we go down to the finishing line once again. Looks like we've got Green Edge coming up here. This is Luke Durbridge coming in towards the finish at the moment. Or is it Peter Weening coming into the finish? Peter Weening, as he comes up to the line and he's into the single digits there. It looks like 8th place on the clock, 38.06 the time for him.
Yeah, well, he's one of the climbers brought in. Levi Leipheimer should be the next rider to come into the finishing line. Here he is. He's still in a very low clutch position. He's at 300 meters to go. Levi Leipheimer this afternoon. He really has lost a huge chunk of time here this afternoon, Phil, because the clock has gone way past this 37-minute mark. He wasn't feigning his injury here this afternoon, and now I think he can put the naysayers down to rest.
Well, you know, normally he would have caught Peter Weening, but he didn't. He's come up right behind him. He comes in with a 37.41, but maybe a little bit so. 37.43, the clock has stopped. But you know, even for a man who literally has one leg here. He's still repairing the broken one. That is an incredibly good time.
But what's important, I think, is the massive time gaps we're starting to see.
Now let's go back out on course, because we're picking up Chris Horner here now, the defending overall champion of the Amgen Tour of California. He was one of the riders who said that he felt that Levi Leipheimer was playing possum, but he won't know the time he's just come in with, so now we know the answer to that at least. So he's been in the saddle for 21 minutes. He's gone through the checkpoint. I haven't got any information on him, but we think his split was 16:43. It's actually just come up on our screen. So 16 minutes 43. He's actually only 2 seconds quicker than Levi Leipheimer at the turn check. So Horner also a bit of a blow for him, because this is the rider who has set the trend now, and he could well be waiting to pull on a yellow jersey. Dave Zabriskie, the only man inside 36 minutes, and now he can wait, watch and see how the rest do. We'll see you back. Welcome back, and the arrival here of Rory Sutherland, the top time trialist from Australia on United Healthcare, and not a bad ride, 37.09 I think it was. It's fourth place at the moment for Rory Sutherland, but of course that puts him a little bit of a way down on Zabriskie. Out on course, George Hincapie, who can turn in a great time trial when he wants to. He's once finished second in the prologue of the Tour de France. So Rory Sutherland, having come home there with fourth best time at the moment, waiting for confirmation of what it was. Chris Horner is inside, 10 kilometres from the finish, but only 2 quicker than indeed Levi Leipheimer at the turn. Well, Rory Sutherland is in, and now it's time for our United Healthcare team profile. It's his team. Let's take an inside look at the American cycling team, United Healthcare.
What sets this team, United Healthcare, apart from a lot of the other teams, I think, is the riders that we have together and how we work together as a team.
We're all good friends, and we all get along with each other off the bike as well.
Feels like I always have my friends around and my family, and we really care for each other, and we just stick together.
It's a passion for all of us, the teamwork and the feeling we get through doing things on a daily basis, and of course, you know, in line with the company, we want to try and help people lead healthier lives.
This race is one of the biggest goals of the team for the season. We all feel like we're ready. You know?
I think like Rory is our man, especially here for this race, to do GC. And
when we come to the big races, now I'm probably seen a little bit more as one of the leaders of the team with Mark and Philip to help get us through the tour and get the results that we need for the rest of the year.
Well, these are the 3 riders we've seen a lot of this week in the Tour of California. Rory Sutherland, Jeff Lauder and McCartney there, 3rd overall in the 07 event as well. And they're packing up now into the overall situation. Rory Sutherland's ride just now, though, to finish in 4th place. He has conceded a minute and 10 seconds to Dave Zabriskie. And he is the nearest of the men who count, who started the day in that 40-second deficit. Dave Zabriskie's ride at the moment could be projecting him into quite an overall lead in the Amgen Tour of California going into tomorrow's stage. But that man down there could be altering it for everybody, because Gesink is doing a great ride. This is the situation at the finish. Voigt and Gilling have lost too much time to worry about their 2nd and 3rd. Sutherland was one of the men who could be 2nd overall at the moment. Well, the lonely figure now of Robert Gesink, it's all a matter of can he survive on this return trip, which is infinitely more harder than the way down to the turn.
Well, this looks like it could be Cam Meyer coming up to the finishing line here, because I'll tell you what, as we look at Cam Meyer, he's not done a bad ride either. We're starting to see the creme de la creme come up to the top of this race. But just, Phil, going back there, that's 37.24, 5th best time there for Cam Meyer. And that begs to wonder what kind of a time Luke Durbridge is going to do, because he's a specialist in the individual time trial for Orica Green Edge.
Well, so's Cam Meyer. He's been the national champion as well last year. But on the other hand, it's all showing just how good the ride is of Dave Zabriskie. He is beating these boys by more than a minute at every asking.
No, he certainly is. Well, look at Robert Gesink here, Phil. He's out of the saddle, battling with that machine. He is not a great time trialist on the flat, but when we go into the mountains over the next 2 days, the way he's going up this hill, he's starting to lay the foundations down of a possible good crack at getting the overall lead. Yes, he might not win the individual time trial against Dave Zabriskie, but the way he's going up this hill, he's going pretty fast.
I just got this feeling, you know, he is a good time trialist as well as a good climber, and he could go head-to-head in the mountains against Dave Zabriskie if he's to be the new leader. And he looks to me as though he's coming home better than Dave Zabriskie did, and he was only conceding 15 seconds at the turn. He's swinging into the finish. This could be a very, very interesting time. Remember, Zabriskie is in his time 35.59, 35.34 and counting. He has had a better return than Dave Zabriskie, and this race again is going to go into tomorrow as a battle of seconds. Look at this, Paul, guessing, and it's important today because Rabobank have wanted a result in this race. He's not going to beat Zabriskie, but he's going to be very close to him.
He's putting himself very close, and that's probably a better place to be in, because it means that if Zabriskie wins the time trial and takes the overall lead, then we're going to have the Garmin Barracuda protecting the overall race tomorrow. That puts Rabobank in an ideal position to go out on the attack.
He's just passing a rider there, and it looks like Brian Van Borg of the Spider Tech team. He's caught him for a couple of minutes there, but Gessink now, well, he actually hasn't come back better than in the end Dave Zabriskie. He's found this climb up to the line just a little bit too far. He can see the clock now, but his time is slipping away. He needs to keep on sprinting. It's important to count for every second here, and he's doing that as he pushes to the line, hits the line. 36.38 is the official time. That's a good ride, and that keeps him right in. He's third place at the moment. Third
place. That's a good ride. He'll be satisfied with that, Phil, because this was not the kind of time trial built for his attributes. It was a time trial built for Dave Zabriskie. It was a drag strip type race with a little climb down towards the end. So Gessink, I think, at the end of the day, when he looks at the overall results, is going to be pretty pleased with that performance. Now it's the suffering of the defending champion. This man had a dramatic exit from the Tour de France last year. Defending champion Chris Horner is battling with the elements here this afternoon, and the second half of this race is proving to be very, very difficult and could be won on experience.
George Hincapie continues on his own here as well. The current leader remains Dave Zabriskie, with the arrival of Robert Gessink from the Rabobank team. Gessink is in third place. He conceded in the end 39 seconds.
Well, I have to say, Mr. Velits has just gone through there with a time just 6 seconds slower at half distance than Dave Zabriskie. So 15.56 for Peter Velits is not a bad ride as we look here at the Aussie national champion coming up to the line, Luke Durbridge. I think he might have suffered just a little bit, Phil, over the last kilometre or so.
Yes, Durbridge taking the national title away from Cameron Meyer, who we just seen finish as well. Another kick here by Durbridge up to the line, and he's come up at 37 dead there. He goes into fifth place.
Well, the big names are all coming out to fight this afternoon, but I tell you what, Phil, I think that's a very respectable time by Peter Velits at half distance. 15.56, just 6 seconds slower than Dave Zabriskie. He's hidden in the main pack throughout the whole of this bike race here this afternoon. He went through the first time check in only fourth place, and a reminder is that TJ Van Garderen was the fastest man there at 15 minutes and 48 seconds.
So Zabriskie is in, Voigt, Gessink, Jangeli, Sutherland are the order at the moment, and in that slot will go Luke Durbridge as well when the computer puts him in there in fifth place. We're getting close. This is meaning now, with the big riders riding close to each other, that we are going to have a real battle in the next 2 days in the mountains. They've got to attack and they've got to gain time.
And it's uphill for 2 days in a row. Big Bear Lake is the first rendezvous, but I think the real scary summit finish, Phil, is that Mount Baldy, because there is no respite. Right there, it's almost like a Pyrenean finish of the Tour de France when you get up into the shale and the rock up at the top of that mountain stage.
Well, we're out on course with George Hincapie, but back in the start house, we're going to get a glimpse very shortly of the last man to go, and that will be Peter Sagan in the yellow jersey. He now knows the sort of times which are being produced. He must be shaking in his boots now to know that Dave Zabriskie, his day is done. He's sitting on the best time of 35.59, the only man inside 36. I don't think Sagan can get close to that.
I'd agree with you there, Phil, but don't forget, he's going into this stage with a 40-second buffer over everybody else. He's 22 years of age. He doesn't know his limits. He will do his best, and he's come from a mountain bike racing background, and those guys normally, when you come from mountain biking, know how to ride a pretty good time trial.
He's underway. cheers from the Californian crowd as we swing back down. This is Tommy Danielson coming up now. It's a pretty good ride. He drops into the top 6 with 37.06.
I think you'll be happy with that performance. And again, Phil, it's really quite remarkable that all of the climbers, when we look at it at the end of the day, they're only going to be separated by 30 or 40 seconds. Yep. We are setting ourselves up for a showdown, final 3 days of bike racing here at the Amgen Tour of California. So far, there's not one of the climbers has showed himself to be head and shoulders above everybody else.
No, you're right. Zabriskie, we don't really think as a climber, although he can climb. And don't forget, he's finished 3 times second overall in this event. This is going to be a big showdown as we climb a massively long climb up to Big Bear Lake tomorrow, and then Mount Baldy, where you need crampons and ropes, I think, to get to the top. So we've got 2 tough days ahead.
Well, this guy is a very good individual time trialist. TJ Van Garderen rose to prominence in the individual time trial. As far as I'm concerned, he has the fastest time at half distance.
He looks good.
He still looks to me like he's hammering along. He's sitting right on the front end of his saddle. That's to get the power into his thighs to stomp down into those pedals and keep them ticking over. He's bobbing the top end of his body a little bit. That's because I think of his young age. He hasn't got the strength of 3 or 4 Grand Tours in his legs, but he can ride this time trial. He was 3rd overall last year in the USA Pro Cycling Challenge, and again, it was all about the time trial for him.
But he was also 5th in this race and the best young rider as well. This is Talansky coming up. To stay in the race, he's got to do a good ride, and look at the time. He hasn't approached 37 yet. The best time is Zabriskie at 36. He's only conceding, he's going to be about 45, 50 seconds off the pace. Andrew Talansky is in with a time that has currently put him in 4th place. I think you and I expected a good ride from him today.
We expected this because this guy finished 2nd to Bradley Wiggins in the Tour of Romandy individual time trial. It was a different kind of time trial on that occasion because it was straight up to a mountain ski resort. But once we go into the mountains tomorrow, Phil, we're setting ourselves up for some serious battle. And you know what? With Dave Zabriskie riding from Garmin Barracuda, Talansky moving right up there, Tommy Danielson not very far away. Wow, we're in for a right weekend, aren't we?
We are in for a fantastic last 3 days of this race, culminating in massive crowds outside LA Live in Los Angeles on the last day. But 2 major battles. The Kenda 1 kilometer sign here now as we come up towards the finish. This is the leader of Team BMC. This is TJ Van Garderen. And just look, this guy hasn't lost his momentum here. He could be pushing Dave Zabriskie, and the crowd know it.
Well, the time to beat by Dave Zabriskie, 35 minutes and 59 seconds.
He'll be close.
Zabriskie's the only man so far to go inside of 36 minutes. But this guy we're looking at here, Phil, in the BMC black and red racing strip, was the fastest man at half distance.
I reckon he is almost 2 or 3 seconds either side of Zabriskie's time, and that is all based on that 1 kilometer passage. So this is going to be a nail-biting finish for the national champion Zabriskie. As this man fights everything now. Look at his elbow stuck out. He's making the left-handed turn. I think we could be looking at best time, and if it isn't best time, we're talking of just a couple of seconds.
Well, he is fighting with his gut here now, as he knows it's a long climb. You can just see that blue banner there. That's the finishing line. It's going to take him an awful long time. Well, it will seem like an awful long time to get there, but still, he's fighting with himself, fighting with his machine. Brent Bultwalter was a rider who started just ahead of him. He's going to have a fairly slowish time. He'll be outside of the 38 minutes, but it's much more important to see the time of
his teammate
TJ Van Garderen, because TJ Van Garderen knows that this is what he's been looking for. He was actually pretty cagey at the start of the race, Phil. He was quiet about what his hope performance would be. 16th time there for that man going through there, but it's the next man to come in we're more interested in, because I have to say TJ Van Garderen almost had his own teammate Brett Bultwalter.
Here we go. Sorry, Paul, but TJ is on his way here, and he must have passed Chris Horner somewhere on the route. Our camera's gone down here at the moment to look at Peter Vellich, but the rider will be on TJ Van Garderen. Here he comes. The time he's shooting at is 35.59. That, in fact, has gone by, so he has slowed down as he comes over the line, and he looks as though he slipped it. That's not him, of course, so we're waiting for it to come in. This is still Brent Bultwalter here. No, this is TJ. It's the grimace on his face. I couldn't recognise it.
Problem is, two guys
he lost
came in.
time somewhere, Paul, because he slowed right down there.
Two guys came in with the same jersey and the same, and it's difficult with the helmets on to spot the difference between the two of them. He obviously, despite going out very, very rapidly indeed, Phil, has paid for that fast start of his, and he's lost an awful lot. I kind of wonder, where is Chris Horner, because he's the defending champion from 2011, and he had said before the start of this race, Phil, he wanted to come out and win this bike race again. He said he talked a very good game up in the opening pre-race conference, and now I think he's paying for the rapid start that he's put in as well, because Chris Horner is just about, according to Race Radio, not too far away from the line.
But he's conceded a minute to TJ Van Garderen, and in the battle for final yellow, Van Garderen was very concerned he'd lost strong teammates. He said he wouldn't be able to get rid of Horner on the big mountains. Well, he's got a minute at least on him now, because he's caught it for a minute. So Chris Horner here is on the back heel now, because TJ has done a time trial of his life that may reflect later. Horner is in only 30th place and around 38.50 his time.
Well, let's not forget, Phil, this is a man who's coming back from 6 months away from the top end of the sport after a very nasty crash that took him out of the Tour de France and a very difficult return to the sport. Peter Velits could be the next man to create a bit of a surprise, because he had a very respectable time at half distance. He went through 15.56. He was only 8 seconds slower than TJ Van Garderen, but he's a good time trialist. Look how stretched he is out on his bike. That makes him fairly aerodynamic at the front end of his machine. He's pumping a massive gear, but he's been a professional for a little bit longer than TJ Van Garderen, so he's got the experience of dosing his effort over the second half of this course, which I think today is going to be important.
The Velits twins are really two very, very aggressive bike riders here. Peter Velits is an exceptional bike rider himself, a very good time trialist and a very good climber. When you've got that combination, then you usually win big time stage races. And he knows now, if he can do a ride here and get in amongst the big favourites, who are not all turning in the rides we expected at all. Talansky's done a good one. He still sits in 4th place. He's conceded 48 seconds to Dave Zabriskie. But one thing's for sure now, Zabriskie is going to win this time trial and most likely will be in yellow. As we look down on the man in yellow here now, Peter Sagan, a lonely ride now for the rider who's not the time trial expert. He has been the highlight of our program for 4 days of racing, as the winner on every occasion. But today he knows now he's going to pass that yellow jersey onwards. The question is, will he be passing it to the national time trial champion of the United States, who has flown to the finish today, only managed inside 36 minutes, and he's still heading up the leaderboard as the final riders are coming home. We'll take a break.
American Classic is giving you the chance to be part of the American Classic Fan Club this July during the tour on NBC Sports Network. If you are chosen, Bob Roll will tell everyone why you deserve to be featured as the American Classic Fan of the Day. Plus, you'll win great American Classic prizes. Just visit the American Classic on Facebook and enter today.
Welcome back as we see the arrival here of Lawson Craddock. We're with the time trial today, and a good ride by the youngster. He's a man of the future, 37.29. The clock will round that up, but currently though 11th place. Terrific. The average age of this young team, there's 2 19-year-olds and the rest I think are 20-year-olds on it. Terrific riding. We're looking at the face now, the champion of Spain here, Luis Leon Sanchez, who's out on course. Now Chris Horner has finished and he has conceded 2 minutes and 50 seconds to David Zabriskie. As we look now at the last man, this is now the Battle of Bakersfield, the 5th stage of the Amgen Tour of California, the time trial presented by Rabobank. And we're looking at the man who's sweeping up now, and it's going to be a lonely ride for Peter Sagan. He's never going to match the time of David Zabriskie for sure. Luis Leon Sanchez, he picked up a couple of stage wins in the Tour of Romandy. It looked like for a while he might have landed the win there, Paul, but the last day time trial scuppered his hopes.
Yeah, and strangely enough, he's wearing a different jersey than he wears on most of the other days, because he's wearing the jersey in the colours of the Spanish time trial champion. But that time trial that he lost in the Tour of Romandy was slightly different. It started in the valley of Crans-Montana and climbed right up to finish in a ski resort.
Not a back-breaking climb, but certainly a mountain. It's one of Switzerland's most famous ski stations, as we now see, Peter Sagan. Now, funnily enough, we were told by Christian Armstrong as well. She said the road is so grippy to the tyres. She said the best place to ride is down the white line, and that's exactly what Sagan is doing.
Well, he's a clever bike rider. We've seen that. He's never panicked. This is George Hincapie. Hincapie didn't post a fast time at half distance, but you know, everything seems to be able to change in this final 15 minutes. He's not going to challenge Dave Zabriskie's time of 35 minutes and 59 seconds. So George Hincapie, as always, is riding a solid individual time trial.
As Hincapie comes up there, 12th place for big battling George here as he hits the line, and it's a great time for him. Team BMC are leading in the team race and have been since day one, so they're looking for good times as a team. The team race is decided on the cumulative of the first 3 riders on each team.
Well, 2 riders, the next 2 riders left to come in, Phil, I think are the 2 riders who may well have a slight chance of beating Dave Zabriskie on a day like today. The next man in should be Peter Velits, who was pretty fast at half distance, and then this man, Luis Leon Sanchez, a specialist in the individual time trial. He had a great start to the season with a very good win in Paris-Nice on stage 6 when he leapt out of the pack and beat everyone to the line there in a small sprint, and then he won a stage of Castilla y León and led that race as well. But Velits can't be very far from the finish line himself, Phil.
No, because this man's just about to see the 1 kilometre to go signs. He gets to the top of this rise here. We're climbing up now at the top of the canyon and back to the finish. Here comes Peter Velits. Now, is he going forward as a challenger for the remaining 3 days of this race? I think he is. 36 minutes is a very good ride today for Peter Velits. I think he's just seen the time on the board as well as he kicks around the corner. He comes over and he's in 6th place there, so he's still in a fight. 36:45, I think.
And don't forget, Phil, this guy is a very good climber. All of the climbers are locking into the top end of the overall standings here this afternoon. So I think we're going to see a big battle when we get out onto the open roads tomorrow. Now, what is the time going to be of this man, Luis Leon Sanchez? The thing is, over the years, he's developed much more into a rider who can get across the average mountains. But I don't think the Big Bear Lake and the mountain of Mount Baldy are what I would call average mountains. They are big mountains.
Well, Velits will go into tomorrow's stage having conceded 49 seconds to Dave Zabriskie. That's certainly not a losing situation. There's the 1 kilometre to go, Ken, the sign for Luis Leon Sanchez. To me, this doesn't look as though he's firing now. He doesn't look too happy on this bike. He looks a little bit clumsy as he comes up the mountain towards the finish.
Well, I think he's struggling like everybody else is in the latter half of this race, Phil.
So at the moment I think there's been a time change for Van Garderen, because they've given Van Garderen now the 3rd place finishing time.
I think the explanation there is, Phil, because TJ Van Garderen in fact caught a rider, and there must have been a little bit of a mess up with the transponders. Now all of a sudden TJ Van Garderen has thrown down the gauntlet to move himself up into 3rd place. Now, I think at 34 seconds...
Well, I'll tell you what, it makes the commentators look a bit better, because I couldn't work out how he'd lost so much time coming up the ride, but they've altered it, and TJ Van Garderen now sits 3rd in this race, only 34 seconds behind Zabriskie. So that's a good situation for an exciting race tomorrow, as we now watch the Spanish champion look towards the finish. I don't think in this case we're going to see such a great time.
Well, he's come around that corner. He's tried to get out of the saddle, tried to pick up the pacemaking once again. We're looking at a completely top of the leaderboard changing now, with Zabriskie leading Jens Voigt, TJ Van Garderen, Robert Hessing, Andrew Talansky. Wow, we're in for some showdown over the next 2 days in the mountains.
Well, that was a very, very good ride by TJ, and he needed a good ride to stay close to the leaderboard because his team has weakened a little bit. They've lost 2 riders on the race. Steve Motabito and the British rider Steve Cummings have abandoned. Cummings crashing and hurting a wrist he'd already previously broken. 200 metres to go then, and Sanchez already outside of 37 minutes. He's gone past the time of Tommy Danielson and Talansky, but he's still a very, very respectable ride.
Well, it is, but he's going to have to change himself around when we go into the mountains and be a workhorse for Robert Hessing, who's lying currently in 4th place in the time trial, and that will probably put him into 4th place in the overall standings as well, as Luis Leon Sanchez cannot wait for this finishing line to come, and the times ticking by continuously there. And that's 15th place. Not probably what he would have expected on a day like today.
15th place, but about a minute and a half slower than Dave Zabriskie. So the clock never lies, does it? Although it seems to have done with TJ Van Garden, because he is now sitting in 3rd place, 34 seconds off Dave Zabriskie. Zabriskie leads from Voigt, Van Garden, Gesink. This man is still to come in, of course, as are quite a few more riders. We'll take another break. A lonely time for the Maillot Jaune. Track your ride with your smartphone or a dedicated GPS device, analyze your performance and see how you stack up against friends, locals and pros. Get started at Strava.com. Still out on course. This is the finishing straight here now. Remember, the start caps was 2 minutes, so it's a little bit of a delay for the rest coming in. Sanchez is in. Josh Atkins is about to arrive if he hasn't slipped in while we're in break. There's no more riders who are going to challenge now the overall leader on the board, Dave Zabriskie, I don't think, unless this is the situation at the finish. Zabriskie 35.59. TJ Van Garden's time was confused by another rider finishing. It's been adjusted now. He slots in 3rd place, 34 seconds off Zabriskie. Jens Voigt's lost too much time until now, so his time in 2nd place won't help. But watch out for Gesink, who's also produced a very good time to be only 39 seconds off. Let's go back out on course now. As we watch now, the rider coming in here will be Wilco Kelderman. He challenging for the best young rider position. And watch out for this boy in the years to come. He is a very, very good young rider. He's wearing the best young rider jersey. So Wilco Kelderman coming home, Paul, wearing the Rabobank Best Young Rider jersey, and the today's stage also sponsored by Rabobank. So he's turned in a reasonably good rider. 38.07 for the youngster. Long term, we're going to be talking about this man for a long time to come.
Well, I think we will, and he actually caught and passed his 2-minute man there. In fact, Josh Atkins, who obviously didn't have a great individual time trial this afternoon. I wonder what is going through the mind of this man, Peter Sagan.
I don't know, but he needs to finish now with a time of 36.39 if he's going to keep hold of that jersey. And he's also in hot competition, that jersey, with the man we've just seen finish, Wilco Kelderman. And so Kelderman could be the next official best young rider wearer tomorrow, unless Sagan can pull out something special.
Well, Sagan, it's hard to know. We didn't get a halfway time check on his performance there, Phil. In fact, yes, the one is just popping through. He went through the intermediate time split with a time of 16 minutes and 35 seconds.
That's not a bad time.
Pretty respectable.
Is he going to make us eat our words, Paul? I have to say, because that compares with a great time trialist in Roy Sutherland, 16.47. Gesink went through in 16.05. Van Garden went through in 15.48. That's an exception. But Peter Sagan currently went through there 8 seconds quicker than the defending champion Chris Horner, who I have to say didn't do a very good ride.
Well, Horner obviously couldn't get it out this afternoon. He's going to have to do something exceptionally special and look for the breakaway when he goes out onto the open road. Or maybe they're going to have to try and come up with a different plan here this afternoon. The current standings, though, still looks like this. David Zabriskie, Jens Voigt and TJ Van Garden on the finishing line, as we now get a chance to see the champion of the Dutch Antilles coming to the finishing line, and that, of course, is Marc de Maar.
Yes, this is the only time you'll ever see this jersey on television here. It is a country part of the Dutch colonies, and this Marc de Maar is the champion. Very colourful jersey, like the country. And as he pushes up here now, his time is still a good one. 38 minutes going in. A lot of riders dropping in that 38-minute slot. He's dropped in 26th position.
Yep. He actually rose to prominence a couple of years ago when we were on the stage up to Big Bear Lake, when he was in the breakaway for a long time, and everyone was saying, well, who is this guy? Where's he come from? Well, we now know that he started this race well up in the overall standings today because of a couple of time bonuses, and he may well be aggressive again tomorrow when we go out into the mountains.
The sun right on the back of the Maillot Jaune now, Peter Sagan at this point, and it is absolutely sweating. This is the time you would like to be a duck, I think, because we have just topped out at 39 degrees Celsius, in excess of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The height of the day here. Sagan is still playing the sweeper and still trying to hold on, if he can't hold on to yellow, to at least stay in touch.
Makes it a lot tougher, I think, Phil, the fact that it's getting hotter as the day goes on, because as it gets hotter, the actual air gets that little bit thicker, so it's much more difficult for Peter Sagan to ride through. And also with the heat starting to come down here, it's also creating a little bit more of a wind as we look down here at Markel Irizar, one of the riders from Radio Shack Nissan.
Yes, and who won the Amgen Breakaway from Cancer Most Courageous Rider Award yesterday. He is himself a testicular cancer survivor, and he rides on the Radio Shack team. And he started 7th from the end of the list. Had a very high overall situation, 37-31, 14th place. He's going to keep a fairly high overall situation going to the mountains.
I think he may well end up being the new leader of Team Radio Shack Nissan going into the big mountain stages.
You might be right.
Because for me, Chris Horner has lost himself a huge chunk of time down as we look again onto the shoulders of Peter Sagan. It is very difficult for him to ride in this kind of heat, and it's a quite strange rule because, you know, we're looking at coming up to past 3:40 in the afternoon local time, and it's a real surprise that in fact the weather has got very, very hot.
We're just seeing the finish here. I think this is TJ Van Garderen. Is it coming up? It might have been Brent Buckwalter, so I don't think that's a correct feed. But anyway, these are the riders coming through. That's Voigt in second, and then we should see Dave Zabriskie coming up now. But I'm pretty sure that was Brent Buckwalter and not TJ Van Garderen. There's Zabriskie, as he's come home, the only man today to get inside 36 minutes. He did it by a second. And I say with great confidence there ain't going to be anybody else breaking 36 minutes today. He's ridden well.
He certainly dosed his effort over the whole part of the course, and I wonder if TJ Van Garderen was actually aiming at the time of Dave Zabriskie at half-time and then just could not consolidate. You can see Van Sagan here is struggling a little bit, Phil, with trying to get that big gear over. It is very difficult. It's a completely different style to the style he's had to adopt over the first 4 days, where he's hidden in the main pack and exploded out of the pack in the last 150 or 200 meters. Now he's got to use a massive gear, which the sprinters really don't like. And I think what's happened to him this year, compared to last year, where he was a very good individual time trial, it looks to me as if he's getting a little bit older. He's bulked up a bit as he decided to become more of a sprinter than a man looking to win races overall.
Well, at 22, of course, he's still very much maturing. So we've still got 6 riders left to finish now. The next man in, probably Ben-Jaxmain, and then the sprinters who have been battling it out over these past 4 days with Peter Sagan. Sagan himself, though, is sweeping up down there, a long way down, about 1,500 feet below the helicopter. The lonely man in yellow. And the next man in yellow looks as though it is going to be Dave Zabriskie. He's delivered what will turn out to be the winning time today in the time trial of 35 minutes and 59 seconds. He's ahead of Jens Voigt. TJ Van Garderen very much remains in the hunt for the final yellow jersey in LA, though. And all the confirmation as we go to the finish with the remaining 6 when we come back from the break. Welcome back to the time trial day. Yes, and the faces there, the images of the riders who have finished the time trial today, some with disappointment on them, others are going to feel very, very satisfied, not least the national champion, Dave Zabriskie. This is Peter Sagan now, the last man on the road on the long climb up towards the finishing line as he heads up towards the 1 kilometer point. Sagan has done a reasonable time at the turn, 16 minutes 35, but it won't upset the flying Dave Zabriskie today, or indeed TJ Van Garderen, because they both went through inside the 16 minutes at the split. So Sagan is one of only 4 riders now left to finish the time trial.
Leipheimer.
So he'll be looking very shortly for, he's about 2 kilometers from the finish at the moment, Peter Sagan, as Ben-Jaxmain has come in, a time just outside of 38 minutes, keeps him in the top 30. Alex Howes is in, and Jeff Lauder are waiting for, and then we've also got Heinrich Hausler and Peter Sagan. These are the sprinters who've taken us around the first 4 days of the Amgen Tour of California. And the time Sagan must finish in 36 minutes and 39 seconds to keep his yellow jersey. And that now is a very big ask.
It's a massive ask, Phil, because he's actually lost himself 45 seconds at half distance. His advantage at the start of the day was 40 seconds over Dave Zabriskie. And unless he's got the big turbo that he can whistle in over the final 2 kilometres up that hill, I don't see that happening this afternoon.
Paul, he's got to come in within the next 4 minutes, and he's not going to do 1 minute kilometres.
Especially when you look at the profile of the last 2 kilometres, which drag up to the outskirts of Bakersfield here. For him, he had predicted it himself last night. I don't think he'll be shocked. He's been very happy with his performances so far. He came here to look for form, to try and hone his skills coming up to the Tour de France in July. He'll be an interesting man to watch in July when he comes up against some of the biggest sprinters in the world, like Mark Cavendish, like the big sprinter from the United States, Tyler Farrar. It'll be all eyes down to see what 22-year-old Peter Sagan can do. And that was very nice of him there, Phil, to eject that bottle of his right in front of those supporters.
Yes, I must say that Peter Sagan is putting up a really good support at the moment, but Dave Zabriskie can get himself ready now to take on the new leader's yellow jersey and also as the winner of the time trial. He's really delivered today in front of his family as well. Sagan is bringing them in. We're waiting for the rest of the riders to finish, but they're not sending any great times.
Well, as we look at Peter Sagan, who will kiss goodbye to the yellow jersey at the end of the day, let's not forget tomorrow is a day of climbing. It's a stage of 115 miles, 186 kilometers. The riders start by climbing over Mount Emma, followed by the Angeles Crest. As we can see, the Native American Old Corral Cafe just over on the right-hand side there. And Alex Howes now is out of the saddle. You can see by the body language, by the way these guys are coming up to this finishing line. They've given everything here this afternoon. Alex Howes, I think, is a guy we will talk about, Phil, in the future. He's ridden well in the early part of this season, but ouch, this has really hurt.
I'm not sure, but I think he may have passed Jeff Lauder here as he comes up to the finishing line, and 71st position for him. So it really doesn't matter now. He's had a great first 4 days. Now he slots in to the main field for Garmin Barracuda, knowing that Tommy Danielson, his teammate, and David Zabriskie, his other teammate, have done their stuff today and are now real contenders for final victory on Sunday.
Well, Phil, just again, just thinking about the mountain stages tomorrow. Tomorrow, the race climbs over 2,000 meters on 2 occasions. We climb over the Angeles Crest, which overlooks the outskirts of Los Angeles at 2,000 meters in altitude, drop back down into the valley, and then go back up the same amount of altitude again to get to Big Bear Lake. That's only the first day of climbing that the riders are going to face up to, because the next day after that, well, it might only be a short stage at 78 miles, but they go straight up to 4,500 feet over the Glendora Ridge Road, down into the valley. And it is a true mountaintop finish the next day when they climb up to Mount Baldy, the summit finish there. And that is pretty close on tickling the same height as the Alpe d'Huez. This is Jeff Lauder now.
Jeff Lauder coming home, so he was passed by Alex Howes out on course. He's going to do just on 40 minutes for his ride today. Another one of our top sprinters. He started the day in 3rd place overall. He'll slip away as he comes in. Oh no, no, he didn't. In fact, no, House was in. Jeff Lauder wasn't passed by House, so they're in order of finish now. Hausler almost caught up with Jeff Lauder, and this will be a much better ride here. 38.04, 25th place for Heinrich Hausler. He's still very much in the race as well.
Well, you can see the pain that this time trial has dished out onto these riders just by the look on the face of Heinrich Hausler. He didn't ride this time trial to try and win it here this afternoon. He just wanted to get his body around it, but you've still got to hurt your body to make sure you get inside of the elimination time.
This is the last man to finish now as he climbs steadily up the road. The finish is literally above him. He'll make a sharp turn at the top of the climb. He's heading up towards the last kilometre. Peter Sagan, 36.39 he wanted. It's just passed by Paul on the clock, and all of the time now is losing time, and the yellow jersey tonight will be put onto the shoulders of the national time trial champion Dave Zabriskie.
Well, this man has really entertained the crowds over the first 4 days, but it's a big ask to win the sprints with the explosive acceleration that he's got and then come out and ride an individual time trial. To put it into perspective, it's like getting a man who can win the 100 meters and asking him to ride the 10,000 to run in the 10,000 meters. It's a completely different kind of physiology.
Yeah, in fact, his time passed literally 1 mile from the finishing line. So every pedal rev now is costing him time in this race. I don't think he'd be too disappointed. I think in half-heartedly he will have expected this to happen. He's going to concede in the region of 2 minutes now to the time of Dave Zabriskie, which I think is pretty good when you're not a time trialist. He's going to be quicker than Chris Horner, for example.
Well, just to put it into perspective as well, there's elimination time on every individual stage. In the time trial, it's a much bigger percentage. It's actually 25%, and that correlates today to 9 minutes. And one rider was very, very lucky in my quick calculation there, because the rider from Team Argos Shimano, Alexander Juniez, he was 8 minutes and 14 seconds to Dave Zabriskie, so not too far behind him was the elimination gate closing down.
You're right, he's got in by about 45 seconds. He's the slowest rider, 8 minutes 14 seconds behind Dave Zabriskie, Alexander Juniez. There's the turn onto the ramp as he runs up towards the line. He had to do 36.39. The time has marched on now for Peter Sagan, but boy, has he entertained us for this past 4 days of racing in this event. 4 different types of sprint finishes. It didn't make any difference. He was able to handle the sprinters every which way he wanted.
And let's not forget, Phil, at the end of the day, he might relinquish the yellow jersey, but he's still got the lead in the points classification, so he will be wearing one of the distinctive leaders' jerseys when he goes into the mountains. He'll defend and nurture his body over the next 2 stages and hope to come out fighting when we finish on that magnificent, iconic stage from the Beverly Hills to finish right outside the LA Live, downtown Los Angeles.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see if Kelderman can hold him off and take the best young rider jersey off him. He had to finish in 36.39. He's now heading towards 3 minutes, the deficit, so he may just get inside the time of Chris Horner. But a wry smile on his face and a wave as well. Well done to Peter Sagan as he comes up to the home straight now and rides in just inside 3 minutes behind. His time, 52nd place at 39.26 for Sagan.
Well, I have to say that was a great victory salute there. Well done. Congratulations for the first 4 days, and we'll wait now down to Los Angeles.
Oh, you never know. Big Bear Mountain, where he won before as well. But there's no doubt now. I can hear now that Bob Roll is down at the finish, and he's talking with Dave Zabriskie, the new leader of the Tour.
Dave, brutal conditions on today's stage. Could you tell us a little bit about the racing conditions out there?
I think the biggest factor is probably the heat, and then secondary is the wind, and maybe even thirdly, it's not much to look out there, so it's mentally a tough course, but that's the kind of course I like.
You were nearly quickest at the halfway point, and were the only rider that didn't slow down at all. Was that part of your strategy, or did you feel that strong at the last half of the bike race?
I mean, I came out here in February and videotaped this course, and I've been watching it quite a lot, and I had a few specific spots picked out where I wanted to go easy on the pedals but maintain speed. I know that sounds funny, but you can do it. And going into that turnaround was one of the spots that I picked out to get a big rest before I shot up out of there. So maybe that's why it was slow going in there. But the way back, definitely the wind was pretty in the face, and I just knew that I had to concentrate a lot and keep the speed.
Congratulations and best of luck for the rest of the Amgen Tour of California.
Thanks, Bob.
Good preparation. Thanks, Bob. Let's have a look at the stage results from Coca-Cola. Dave Zabriskie wins, the only man inside 36. Jens Voigt second. Important one here, though, is TJ Van Garderen, conceded only 34 seconds. And looking further down, there's more names. Velits, Durbridge, Danielson and Sutherland are the big challenges, it seems, as well now to the leader, the new leader, Dave Zabriskie. We'll take a break, but when we come back, we'll have all of the podiums and we'll shake out the new overall standings as we go into the high mountains here in California. This is the Amgen Tour of California on the NBC Sports Network, brought to you by Amgen. Pioneering science delivers vital medicines. Visit us at amgen.com. By AEG, giving the world reason to cheer. By Rabobank, banking you can celebrate with Rabobank. NA member FDIC. And by Villiers Triestina. 106 years of bicycle making tradition and innovation, and sponsor of Team Lamprey ISD. Welcome back. We have seen the national champion of the USA win the day, and that's his award. Now Dave Zabriskie, with his whole family up there as well, has now taken the Maillot Jaune in the Amgen Tour of California. He's got 3 days in which to defend it, and we're still talking seconds. But you know, the biggest winning margin in history on this race is only 49 seconds. So Zabriskie knows it means every second really does count. So he is now the overall leader. Let's have a look if we can show you the Cliff Bar overall standings. There they are. Just 34 seconds to TJ Van Garderen, 39 to Gesink. This is what Zabriskie beat them by in the time trial. Talansky is up into 4th place. Peter Velich is up into 5th. These are real contenders now. These aren't sprinters. 49 seconds at Velich is the gap in the top 5 overall. And if you can go further down, you will find that Luke Durbridge now becomes the new leader in the Rabobank Best Young Rider competition, and he sits 6th at 1:01. Danielson there up into 7th. Let's have a look at our Visit California map, which will take us up tomorrow. Boy, if you don't like climbing, then close your eyes and look away, because this is a terrific day of racing tomorrow. We head out to Big Bear Lake and we finish up there at 6,937 feet. Dave Zabriskie on his day can climb mountains as well as ride time trials, but he's going to need help from his friends, I think, and he's got 1 or 2 on Garmin Barracuda who will try and keep him out of trouble on the long road to Big Bear Lake. 6,937. Okay, let's go around then. We can check out now our Road ID ride of the day, and guess who it is? It's our man again, the national champion of the time trials of the United States. He ate them all up today. He passed them 1 by 1. They all started a minute ahead of him. Michael Chirel there being passed as well. Philip Deignan being passed. Yannick Eisen being passed. And if you want a chance to win $1,000 and a VIP ride with Bob Roll, vote for who you think will win tomorrow's stage at roadid.com/ride. And talking of tomorrow, don't forget his live coverage of Stage 6 of the Amgen Tour continues at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can watch the Stage 5 highlight show tonight at 12:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on the NBC Sports Network. Also, for a full schedule and race highlights, you can log on to NBCSports.com. Up next, it's NBC Sports Talk. For Bob Roll, Paul Sherwin, Phil Ligger saying we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.